Chapter 1. The Assignment. The distant planet of Zorak, home to an advanced race known as the Zorians, prided itself on its intellectual pursuits and mastery of the cosmos. Zorian students were known for their rigorous education, with each cycle culminating in a final thesis that pushed the boundaries of their understanding. It was during such a cycle that a young alien student named Shivnar received an unusual assignment: study and report on the military history of Earth, a backwater planet in the Milky Way galaxy. Shivnar, like most Zorians, had a deep-seated belief in the supremacy of logic and might. In their culture, power determined right, and war was an honorable test of a civilization's strength and resolve. With this mindset, Shivnar eagerly delved into Earth's history, expecting to find a straightforward chronicle of battles, conquests, and the rise and fall of empires. But as Shivnar sifted through the historical records, a strange pattern began to emerge. Earth's history was indeed filled with wars, but there was something perplexing, something illogical that kept cropping up. Instances where humans, despite having the power to crush their enemies, chose to show mercy instead. Intrigued and puzzled, Shivnar decided to focus on these anomalies. Why would a species capable of immense destruction refuse to use that power when it was within their grasp? And what was this strange emotion called pity that seemed to influence their decisions? Shivnar's curiosity deepened, and with it a sense of unease. The assignment was no longer just an academic exercise. It was becoming a journey into the unknown. Chapter 2. The Case of the Christmas Truce. One of the most perplexing examples Shivnar uncovered was an event during Earth's First World War, a time when nations clashed with unprecedented ferocity. The Zorian student found records of something called the Christmas Truce in 1914, where, along the Western Front, soldiers from opposing sides emerged from their trenches, not to fight, but to exchange greetings, gifts, and even play soccer together. Shivnar couldn't comprehend it. These humans had spent months trying to kill each other, yet for one night they abandoned their weapons, shared food, and sang songs. It defied every principle of Zorian logic and warfare. If the humans were capable of such sentimentality, why engage in war at all? Determined to find an explanation, Shivnar examined the records more closely. The truce had not been ordered by high command. It was a spontaneous act by the soldiers themselves. They had, for a brief moment, seen their enemies as fellow beings, not adversaries. But what truly shocked Shivnar was the realization that many soldiers later regretted the war entirely, seeing it as pointless and tragic. Shivnar began to understand that pity wasn't a weakness in human culture, but a powerful force that could override their baser instincts. This revelation was unsettling. If humans could choose mercy over victory, what did that say about their true nature? Chapter 3. The Horrors of Hiroshima. Despite the baffling instances of mercy, Shivnar knew that humanity had not always been so compassionate. The destruction of Hiroshima and Nagasaki during Earth's Second World War was proof of that. Here was an example of pure, unrestrained power, a demonstration of the human's capacity for total annihilation. Shivnar studied the events leading up to the bombings, the devastation that followed, and the impact on human society. The Zorian student expected to find a race hardened by their victory, ready to wield such power again without hesitation. But once more, the humans defied expectations. The records showed that the bombings had filled many humans with horror and shame. Scientists who had worked on the bombs expressed deep regret, and the global community was shaken by the realization of what they had unleashed. Instead of triumph, the bombings sparked a profound movement for peace, with countless voices advocating for the end of nuclear weapons and the prevention of future wars. Shivnar was astounded. How could a species that had unleashed such destruction also be the same species that fought so fiercely for peace? The concept of pity was more complex than Shivnar had imagined. It wasn't just a feeling, it was a force that could change the course of history, that could transform fear and hatred into a desire for reconciliation. Chapter 4. The Final Presentation. Shivnar's research culminated in a thesis that was unlike anything the Zorian Academic Council had ever seen. The presentation hall was filled with Zorian scholars, all eager to hear the findings of the promising student. They expected a dissertation on the strategic failures and successes of Earth's wars, but what Shivnar delivered stunned them into silence. Shivnar began with the expected analyses, detailing human wars and their outcomes, but soon shifted to the anomalies. The Christmas truce, the aftermath of Hiroshima, and other instances where pity and mercy had prevailed over war. Shivnar argued that humans were not simply a warlike species, but a paradoxical one, driven by emotions that often defied logic and reason. The student concluded with a provocative statement: "Humans refuse war out of pity, not because they lack the power to wage it, but because they possess the strength to recognize the futility of violence and the value of life. This makes them, in many ways, more evolved than we are." The Zorian Council was taken aback. Such an assertion was heresy in a society that valued might and logic above all. Yet they could not deny the evidence presented. Shivnar had uncovered a truth that challenged the very foundations of Zorian belief, that pity, far from being a weakness, might actually be a strength that could save a species from its own destruction. As the council deliberated, Shivnar stood quietly, pondering the implications of the research. What began as a simple assignment had turned into a revelation, not just about humans, but about the Zorians themselves. Perhaps, Shivnar thought, it was time for the Zorians to learn from the humans, to embrace pity, and to seek peace not just out of logic, but out of compassion. In the end, Shivnar's thesis was accepted, but the debates it sparked would continue for generations. And on Earth, unaware of the distant scrutiny, humanity continued its journey, ever balancing on the knife's edge between war and peace, driven by the same forces that had puzzled the Zorian student: pity, mercy, and the hope for a better future.